I know it's a busy time of year, but we're always happy to talk Star Wars with everyone. It's definitely a treat for us to just sit here and just talk about Star Wars. So I appreciate you joining us. I'm just going to do a quick round of intros. I'm sure you know who we are, but my name is Jing. I work on marketing, and you guys absolutely know
Chris. I work on design. So it's good to see everybody.
Yeah, it's good to see everyone. All right, we're going to dive right in because I know there's lots of questions and we want to make sure we can get through as many of them as possible. I'll start with you, Volker. Figuring in. You hear us?
You're on. We can't hear you, Volker. All right.
You're on mute. Volker, we can come back to you as well, but you're on mute right now, so we can't hear you. Yeah, we'll come back, Volker. All right, moving on at SWTVC, Evan.
Hey, well, thank you guys for doing this once again. Pleasure to see you. There's a recurring question that I know, Chris, I already asked you at Comic-Con. It's been asked many times, but they're hounding me to ask it again because people want to know, or people are very concerned about it. The Trooper 4-pack offerings have been a super welcome addition to TVC. There has been a lot of community chatter about named or unique characters being included in these 4-packs. Including named or unique characters has kind of discouraged many collectors from purchasing more than one, where they otherwise would have bought multiple packs, as folks kind of don't need, for example, multiple Lieutenant Waxers or multiple Captain Enochs or multiple Tusken chieftains, characters that they kind of believe should be on cards. Community consensus seems to be that these 4-packs should be more generic army builders, like the new Clone Trooper set, which is fantastic, in my opinion, though including some sort of nameless squad leader or officer is fine, with these characters, unless it's the only way to get them in the line, which I understand. But are there plans to maybe further refine these packs to maybe address this hot topic going forward?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a topic that's been on our mind. You mentioned it with the latest Clone Trooper pack. Like we've already made some changes to how we're doing that stuff. Just some background on it. Initially the packs we were always wanted to include a lieutenant, like one that was kind of special, that also still worked as a troop builder, but was still more generic. We thought with things like the Tuskens, the chief kind of walked a borderline of, like, in the background still looked generic enough. Captain Enoch was one that initially we didn't even plan for a troop builder set, but then transitioned it into that. So that ended up working out that way. But I think we got a little too specific on that character, as you guys have pointed out. And I think that's something that we've made note of. The team's working to make those sort of decisions more supportive of troop building going forward. So no,
awesome. That's super encouraging.
And this sort of dialogue is critical to that, like having that feedback from you guys and evolving those things to get you better offerings is important. Yeah. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's good. It's important feedback to hear. So thank you for sharing. Volker, I think you're off mute now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay, good. Perfect. I can't see you, but you can hear me. That's good. First question. Pulscon, you pushed the Selfie Series again and made some statements that it's still going on, and it seems that it's now no longer active. What happened to the line? Is it resetting or?
Yeah, Selfie Series, it was super fun. It had a good run. I loved my own personal selfie, and I appreciate all the support from the fans that did buy into it for sure. But at this time, we've decided to focus our efforts elsewhere, as you've noticed, Volker. So yes, Selfie Series at this point is discontinued, and we thank you for everyone that supported. But at this point, we're going to look and focus our efforts somewhere else.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. All right, Fly Guy.
Good morning, guys. Thanks again. Look, I think even just looking at the new figures that have been revealed today, the Battle Droid and the 3PO and the 2-pack, and one of the things that fans tend to ask us is, rather than perhaps 2 figures, it could be a very small figure. and a larger figure, and perhaps some kind of extra part, something diorama. I know you've been asked this question a million times, but there's a lot of figures sometimes that fans will skip just for personal choice or whatever they're collecting, and anything we could do to try and get that kind of slightly Marvel Legends kind of thing where people will collect to get that extra piece. It can be a weapons rack, it could be something really small, but you know, you buy 5 figures and you get a little tiny part of a wall or something. Or I'm looking at your wall behind you, Chris, which is very cool, by the way, with all the figures on it. But something, I don't know. I just, fingers crossed if there was any possibility you could look at that.
No, I mean, absolutely, there is possibility. I mean, and we love hearing like in these conversations and reading online all those sort of ideas and what's really driving fans, because that's something that we want to do. We want to continue to grow and expand and figure out different offerings to make things special and unique for everybody. So, like, again, thank you for the list of things. Like, it's a great list of ideas. Some of those things we're talking about, trying to figure out ways to do. And hopefully we have info on those sometime down the road. We don't have anything now or plans right now, but it is good stuff. And I think, is there a home for it? Yes. Do we know where that home is for it right now in Black Series? No. And we're trying to figure those things out. So
that's positive.
Yeah. Demand from you guys and which things are the most important in those realms is an important part of that. So we love seeing the chatter online and seeing what bubbles to the top is important for you guys.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and to be clear, like there currently is no like build a figure plan or build a environment plan.
Yeah.
But like in general, like we always just like to hear from the community and then, you know, go from there. Cool. All right. The Black Series Instagram. Matt.
Thanks for doing this, guys. Just a quick one following on from that, Chris. Any plans for an official fan poll? Again, it's been a few years since we've actually officially done one. I can't even remember when the last one was, but it's at least 3 years, if not longer. Anyway, looking at bringing this back for the community to actually try and pick out some random figure from the background.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have anything planned, but it's good to know that if demand's there, and if you guys are looking for that sort of thing, we can look into that. But we do, like, we look at what you guys are talking about online. We're in those groups with you guys. I mean, we're fans first, and working on this stuff is what we do. Like, we want to deliver the same stuff you guys want. I mean, that's when the system works well, when we give you guys exactly what you want. So it's important doing an actual fan vote. I mean, Jing, I think we have talked about figuring out ways to bring that back in, and we're continuing to pay attention to those sort of things that you guys want. So
yeah, I just think it'd be interesting to see now where we're at, because you know, I think Darth Malik was such a big one, Starkiller was such a big one, and now those ones have all come to fruition from what was getting voted on 4 years ago or 5 years ago when they were last done. That now it would be interesting to see where the next Malik and mindset for Starkiller and all the people who put so much effort into those EU figures, where they'll go to next, because the ones which were bemoaned for are now here.
Yeah, well, and that's part of it too. Is it's an evolving thing. I mean, it, like right now, like somebody's top 5 will be different when we announce the next set of things. I mean, it's gonna change. Like, we might announce something they don't know about, or we might announce something they do know about, like, or did want. So I think it is important to continue and evolve that conversation. That's why I think, like, I personally like some of the discussions on Reddit and some of the others where it's kind of an evolving conversation, and you see in real time how things percolate to the top. So the fan vote in some ways feels a little too locked in time to me. I mean, it's very pointed data, but it's not fluid like I think this demands in some ways. So
yeah.
Just
so, like,
some thoughts, but
even your viewers, for example, like it's good just to have that information come from all channels, like Chris said. So we're definitely tuned in and the more you guys talk about it, the more you guys are able to rally and give us some information to go by. I think it's just always helpful to have as well.
Yeah,
Great,
we love
thank
our
you.
checklists too. We want to be able to check off all those ones you guys want. So
What are our top 10s?
yeah.
All right, at SWTVC, Evan.
Yes. Just kind of wanting to go back to the 4-packs real quick. At first, the expression kind of seemed to be a way to offer collectors a way to army build at a more affordable price than buying single carded figures. But then, of course, we saw the price hikes across the board and the savings were kind of no longer as strong. However, with the clone pack and then today's reveal of like Deluxe Django Fett and the Retro 6-pack, we're kind of seeing them a little less expensive than similar recent items. So is this a little bit of a course correction on that?
Yeah, I mean, I will say prices do vary like sometimes lately, as you mentioned, Evan. But the goal is always to have a consistent price point around, especially around packs that are like consistent, like Troop Builders or things along those lines. So something we'll keep striving to in the future. Obviously, we can't like predict the future and say what that price point will be necessarily, but like, there was some variances that we saw this year, and we're hoping to keep it somewhat consistent, at least in the foreseeable. So we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, but thank you for calling out some of those examples as well. And for those that haven't seen, there are Gift the Galaxy reveals even earlier today. So definitely go to StarWars.com and take a look at some of those items that were revealed as part of prequels. All right, Volker.
Alrighty. The epic Star Wars hero line you're just releasing, what are you trying to gain from releasing a 4th line now, next to Black Series, retro, vintage? What are you trying to achieve?
Yeah, well, first off, we can't talk about things that aren't officially announced, so that more information to come in January. But I can say that like our line. Yeah, and more information to come. I'm sure it'll be all over the internet in January too, when we share a little bit more info. I will say for us, like our core fan items are not going anywhere. So like rest assured, this is the kid line. It's a different part of the business. It is not going to take away from us. In fact, I think of it as a good thing if we continue to build opportunities for future fans. It's only for the health and betterment of us. So I definitely want to say like it's not us, like it's not like taking away from your Star Wars Vintage or Black Series collection in any way. So rest assured there.
It's building, it's ultimately building more fans for fans. So we gotta have a pipeline of customers too.
Yeah, it's part of our core fan is, as we all know here, and so that's part of the kid business. More information to come on that in January. All right. Fly Guy.
Look, you guys do a lot of good work in some of the sculpting and the tooling, and it's beautiful sculpt a lot of the times. You really, I mean, for such a small amount of figures, even the vintage guys as well, you're just facial scans and facial kind of work is really excellent these days. There is that thing, and we've talked about it before, about just applying a matte finish, and I'd sent you guys a photo. Hopefully you got to see it, and others have seen it before. It is that kind of sweat effect, a very shiny, and I think as you highlighted, Chris, sometimes it's more a matte effect that just finishes off that figure. But I felt that image really captured a kind of, it's not maximizing the benefit of the figure and selling it as much as it could without that matte finish. And you really see the sculpt and the paint and the kind of delicate picture of the lips and everything on it. So I just hope that could maybe be applied more. I think I've seen it a little bit more being applied, but it's leaving very shiny kind of Kim Kardashian eyebrows on some of them, but still, it's still improving overall. So the more we could get to that point, I'd be grateful. And your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we 100% agree with you. And it's how we spec out the figures to be done. It's how we approve them. It's how Lucasfilm approves them, is with that matte finish on them. I think what we're seeing is a little bit of variance in output on those things. And we can't check every figure that comes off the production line, but our QA teams are on that, and that's one of the things that they've flagged and are looking at more frequently to try and keep track of that sort of stuff. So hopefully we'll see more and more improvement on that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling it out. It's always good info for us to have. All right, Matt, the Black Series Instagram.
I see this morning there's been the reveal of the latest 2-pack, and last week there was the Clone Trooper 2-pack. So I was going to ask more 2-packs, but in that, what I'm really looking for and asking for is classic 2-packs, or just the idea of bringing back that new Stormtrooper body in a Han and Luke in disguise as a in Stormtrooper disguise as a classic 2-pack that maybe otherwise would go undone, but very much wanted and needed.
Yeah, it's great feedback, and then very pointed, specific item that I love. We will definitely be looking at ways to do more of that stuff in the future. Like 2-packs are a great offering and will allow us to do special stuff. So, I mean, that one will be on the list, I guarantee you. So
good.
It's good to hear feedback about 2-packs in general. So thank you for sharing that. All right, next round at SWTVC.
Yes. All right. So I was going to ask about Epic Heroes, but thank you for confirming that it's not going to be taking away from our beloved TVC and collector lines in general. Appreciate that. So my next question is going to be, a lot of vintage collection accessories are nice and sturdy, but some can get pretty bendy and gummy, like the recent Clone Trooper rifles. Is that something to do with the black plastic, and what causes that to happen? Is there a chance that this issue can maybe be fixed on future releases, like this new Clone 4-pack? So weapons and other accessories can be kind of consistently sturdy?
Yeah, it's just the nature of the material that some of those weapons get made out of. Sometimes you can make weapons out of polypropylene, which is a harder material. A lot of times those longer weapons, for safety testing reasons and all other sorts of things, end up having to be made out of PVC, which is a softer material. You guys are familiar with PVC. It's what hands and arms and everything else are made out of, most other things on a figure. When you get to a really thin cross section on PVC, it can get really soft. So we're working on higher durometers, which means the stiffness of that material. We're working on finding ways to use higher durometers of PVC in those accessories without compromising the detail. So we're trying to work on improvements there, but it's one of those things where we're walking the line of getting the detail, getting some of those little undercuts and stuff dictate a type of material, and then safety concerns come in, and you have to round corners using this type of material, but you don't have to round corners using this. So it's that sort of thing. We're working on it. We don't like bendy rifles and blasters either. So yeah, it's in our minds, and we're watching it. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Volker, Star Wars figurine.
Alrighty, fans in the Vintage Collection are still waiting for an announcement for Balin and Shin. How far are we away from an announcement that they are coming?
Well, I'm going to say something that you hear us say a lot. We can't talk about anything we haven't announced yet. But do continue to ask. I am always happy to say I can't tell you yet. So yeah, just stay tuned for more info. There are other times to have other announcements and stuff, but we don't have anything to announce on those.
But I mean, Volker, it's definitely good to hear from you and the community. We know that like they're demanded and what's demanded out there and what's being voted on. So definitely keep letting us know. We're paying attention.
Yeah.
There's always the last figure standing, right?
You know, we're tuning in. All right, Fly Guy.
It's back to something. I think this is now over, but Tamura Morrison, we love the guy. I absolutely adore him. And you've got some incredible sculpts of him. The recent phase 1 or phase 2 or phase 2 Clone Trooper, I should say, even the phase 1. He's back. He's painted. He's got his hair. Everything's there. But when we used to glue the helmets, it used to just kill fans. And if you haven't seen the videos, there's fans out there boiling your creations alive and peeling them apart and all the rest of it. And we don't want to do that to your lovely figures. So we'd really appreciate if you can give us that sculpt in there, because it's just such a great sculpt. We want more clone heads so we can have multiple clones. So hopefully no more Tamura Morrison with sticks of glue in his head would be really, really appreciated.
Yeah, no, I mean, we had to do that on some figures because working on cost and trying to get those figures down and approachable, we couldn't afford to do the face on that particular release of those figures. So gluing that on, because we didn't have at the time a head that had all that detail molded up underneath it. But that's an option for going forward, is having that as a molded solid piece, so that it doesn't have a head under it, or like you said, doing versions of those where the helmet is removable and there's a full face underneath. So yeah, I mean, all of those things are in play now. So
cool. Thank you. Awesome.
Totally heard. So thanks for the feedback.
Black Series Instagram. Matt.
So this is something we've talked about before on these roundtables and everything, and just wanted to say again, or mention again, that the community does really want some sort of 6-inch diorama or set piece. And by that, I don't mean something that has to be huge. It doesn't have to be as, how would you say, complete in scale as a 375-inch set piece, but something that can fit into those IKEA shelves, the square 1x1 squares. Just, I think since the third-party company stopped making space walls, there's definitely been an impact, I think, in the toy photography community, that it starts to just make everything outdoor photography, and it becomes a bit of a repeat of itself in natural environments, but there's no longer that kind of Star Wars feel and display within the kind of indoor world. It's just, I think it's very missed, and the community does want some sort of play set or display set for in Black Series scale. So just another thing that I want to raise again, because I know it's, the more we raise it, the more you hear it. But if there's anything like those old GTP display walls, or something that just allows people to get that environment back into their collection and displays and photography. I don't want to say more importantly, but just as importantly.
Yeah, no, it's great feedback. And we love hearing that sort of stuff from the community. Like you said, like, it's part of this dialogue. Part of the reason we do this is to get that sort of feedback from you guys. Trying to find the right way and place and price and time to do all that stuff is part of how we have to work through it, though. So hearing from you guys, what are the most important ones, all your priority lists, all that stuff, the ongoing conversations about it, that's all great data and info for us. So yeah, we'll continue to look and try and find ways to do stuff that makes sense for you guys, and hearing that feedback is part of that. So thanks.
Great, thank you. At SWTVC.
Yeah, so this one's kind of similar to my previous question. We love the new vintage collection Thrawn. Love, love, love. My teammate Tyler, over the moon about him. Won't shut up about it. He obviously wrote this question. Krennic and the ISB officer as well, from the officer pack that we love. However, people have noticed that Thrawn and Krennic are both noticeably off-white compared to the ISB officer. And the same can be said of the Andor Phase 2 clone trooper. So is there something causing this difference? And we know you can't comment on future releases, but if you were to do like a Lars version of Thrawn, or heck, even on the upcoming Clone Trooper 4-pack, is there a way to maybe make these more stark white to match the bright white of the ISB officer and the recent Stormtroopers?
Yes, there absolutely is a way. And it's just how we spec those things and how we think about them during development. The Thrawn specifically in TVC was done to match the spec from Black Series, which was an off-white color, to have some consistency across the lines that way. I think also when we do the troop building pack where that officer was, like, we think about those as more kind of clean, like fresh versions of those figures for just building out a bigger display. And a clean version of a guy in a white costume tends to, you think, brighter white. And then the more specific characters of Krennic and Thrawn, like those where there's live action reference of a character in a specific costume, then we can look at those specific costumes and try and match colors there, which is what we did on Krennic and Thrawn. So I think this conversation is important to that, and like what trying to find the thing that feels right both to content, to the reference, to you guys, and to build a more holistic story. We've made the decisions we have to try and match reference and content and stuff. But having the conversation, and if there are things that you guys think like this that you want to change, like those conversations will be ongoing and will be in our heads going forward.
Yeah, definitely. I think kind of what the spirit of what I'm asking here is kind of, I think we're looking for maybe more consistency on the white for the clones especially, and maybe the officers. So
yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate that answer.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll definitely take that back too, and I'm sure Emily will be.
Yeah, we don't even need to
at some
take
point.
that back. Emily already knows. Yeah.
She already knows.
So-
That's true. That's very true. She's heard it before someone's even typed it out.
Everybody has a
comment
little
section.
moment of pride on the team when they can tell
Yeah.
Emily something she doesn't already know.
Never
I
haven't-
assume my
happened.
teammate Tyler already
Well,
messaged her about it. So
Yeah, it never
Yeah.
happened. She's always
Yeah.
finger on the pulse. All right, Volker.
Alrighty, what did you guys take from the PulseCon poll where you polled during the session about the Black Series roleplay and vintage? What's your take from that?
Yeah, so that was funny. It was just a casual question thrown out there, but we know there's lots of factors that go into like who is online at the time, who answers poll questions, and things along those lines. So like, we don't take away from it as like any head-to-head by any means. And we obviously know like both Black Series and Vintage is hugely important to us as a community. There's lots of Black Series fans and there's lots of Vintage fans, and we support both and we love both and we have fans of both on the team. So I wouldn't take that as in like, oh, here's a moment to talk about one versus the other. It definitely was just a casual question for us to get it was fun engagement
Just
for
to have
us.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like an engagement for us to just like start talking. But yeah, it wasn't like, that was the moment that we got so much information. We all know that like, it depends on who was online at the moment or who decides to answer a poll and things along those lines. They're both very important to us.
Okay, doke. Thanks.
Yep, Fly Guy.
Look, I think it's a date that I don't forget easily. August 1st, 2013 was when the Black Series launched. And we kind of didn't really do anything 10 years which I kind of thought you would, but that's okay. We'll stick here for 20th or whatever. But the line itself, there was when you look back at it, I think there's maybe perhaps some inspiration, it's retro, it's 10 years old. There's something about it we could maybe, I think, look back and maybe just realign, be re-inspired by. I think the strategy for the Black Series, it's grown, it's multiplied. We've got all sorts of pack sizes now. I just wondered what your thoughts were on that. It was very different, the line then. It was obviously costs have changed, the world's changed. There was lots of accessories. It was very much the ultimate figure, a Black Series figure. And we've had to, you've had to as well. Everybody's had to kind of cut back a little bit. Just your thoughts, just Black Series strategy. What do you think? How would you like it to maybe go in the future? Just even spitballing and just suggestions.
Yeah, I mean, we love the Black Series line here, and thank you for bringing up. It's been 10 years to your point, and we have core fans here who's worked on Black Series like their entire career, for example. There's things that work really well, and there's always, no matter what we do, room for improvement, and that's across the line for anything that we do. So we definitely keep an eye out on what the fans are saying, what the community is saying, what they've taken well to, what they haven't, what they've hoped is a little different. We will keep that in mind for everything that we do. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations, why it's so important that there's such a robust community out there for us to tap into and listen to. As for the future of like Black Series, it's obviously a key and core line for us. And we think it's really important. We have a lot of fans there from like new entertainment, and there's also fans of classic. There are things that people have liked with the multi-packs, for example. They've asked for troop builders. We've recently talked about delivering that as well. Multi-packs and like the Jaws pipeline and like the new entertainment stuff. there's always room for us to gather feedback in everything that we do. And we'll keep in tune with like what you guys have liked to see and what you would want to see different. And we'll just continue to build and do the best that we can. And we just ask that you keep telling us and know that we are fans. We're trying to do everything that we can, and we will. Our goal is always to make everything as perfect as possible, knowing that that's never fully achievable. There's always room to be better, but that is everyone's goal. Like no one on this team, wishes for anything other than like the best for everyone. So keep letting us know.
Cool.
Oh, thank you for that question. Black Series Instagram.
The Darth Vader figures, there's an archive one that was announced at San Diego Comic-Con for outside of the US, which is a New Hope re-release. And then there's also the Darth Vader that was announced in the what I call the new saga packaging for A New Hope. Are these the same figure, or is the archive one a reissue of the 40th anniversary Darth Vader and the new one an upgraded Darth Vader, which does it have butterfly joints like the Empire and Return of the Jedi Darth Vaders? I'm just not sure. There's two Darth Vaders for outside the US coming out almost simultaneously, both from A New Hope. One's archive and one's new.
Yeah, they are the same figure. I think there aren't updates to these from previous releases outside of packaging. It's a way to get them back out into those markets where there's been a demand for them. So
okay.
Yeah, and it's definitely distribution and strategy is something we always keep in mind. But like Darth Vader and New Hope is like classic Darth Vader for us, for some, new fans, new casual fans, or anyone to gift to their loved ones to start their collection. So, but yeah, like Chris said, nothing different for those items. All right, I think let's go back up to the top at SWTVC.
Yeah, all right. So since one of mine was actually answered, I'm kind of freestyling one right now. We've talked about, that was brought up, the 2-packs were brought up earlier for Black Series. And I'm just looking at this Obi-Wan right now from the Showdown 2-pack for TVC and absolutely over the moon about that. The 2-packs are very exciting. It's a great way of getting figures that go together, which has been something TVC has kind of struggled with. For example, I think of our Rise of Skywalker figures, not a single one shares a scene with the other. So it's kind of tough. And then there's been, people talking about villains, which we're starting to see corrected. It's not gone unnoticed that the most recent wave of TVC is 5 out of 6 of them have been on fan polls like March Madness consistently over the past several years. And that's awesome. So I guess I just want to kind of know with the 2-packs you mentioned for Black Series, it's a great way of getting things out there. For vintage collection, is the stuff that otherwise couldn't take up a mainline slot. Kind of how does this expression work, and are you guys pleased with the reception and the performance of it so far?
Yeah. You mean the 2-pack specifically?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like we are pleased, especially if we hear from fan communities and like, oh, that's awesome. Like that's a great, feedback to hear. The team takes everything, to heart because they worked really, really hard on the items and we're ingrained in the community. So we've heard good things about the multi-packs, to your point, like the scene building aspect of it as well. That Obi-Wan, Showdown pack was, we've heard great feedback from there. So like, thank you from the community. Like, obviously we just, good or bad, want to hear from you. So if you didn't like it, obviously we'd love to hear that too, just so that we understand and can pivot.
We like positive feedback better though.
Yeah. Oh, this pack is fantastic. It's one of my favorite releases in as long as I can remember. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Oh wow. Wow. That's a statement. We'll let Emily know as well. But yeah, we've had good feedback. So it leaves room for the future on other items that we might or might not, put out there. But it's informative for us to see, and we are happy with some of that feedback. And we have multi-packs for Black Series too. I've heard, some good feedback there as well. So, keep them coming, keep the feedback coming. Let us know when we reveal something, what you like, what you don't like. Again, to Chris's point, we love to hear what you like too. And we'll keep that in mind.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Volker, figure in.
Have a different question actually, which is brand new here. On the vintage line, on the vintage cars, I got a load in just now, and the blisters seem to be changed. They're like very thin, dull looking and crackling. It's like, I don't know, very low quality. Is that an intentional change? Is it a bad batch, or you know what's going on there?
I'm not sure. If you can send through some photos and date codes off of them, we can look into it.
Sure.
We shouldn't be seeing that sort of thing though. So
Yeah,
just let us know. I mean, that's great for us to know, because we can chase that stuff down, especially with that info. So
they came in yesterday, and they're definitely on the Krennic and a couple of others.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Please do send us that info so we can look into it.
Alrighty.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything specific, but of course, Volker, let us know, and send us photos and stuff, and maybe it's a bad batch or something. We definitely want to talk to you about it.
Okay.
All right, Fly Guy.
Look, it's not really a question. It's more as an observation for input to share with you. And maybe you do know this already, but the vintage collection, I adore it, love it too. But it's such a beautiful looking line. I mean, it does hark back to the original 70s design. We've stuck with it. It's so different on the Black Series when you look at it. And again, it's only 10 years old, still a baby. But it is so varied. It's so different. It's black and red, black and orange, black and blue. Angle boxes and windowless, non-windowless. We've got such a diverse mix, and I think it's something that I certainly notice as a grey-haired fan. It is that the vintage collection is just timeless. It's really sticking there from the cardboard perspective, because we do, as fans, a big part of it is the cardboard. It's a huge thing, the packaging. So it was more just a point to share, to say, look, please do, if you can ever consider that is a big factor for some of us nerds, that how it looks on a shelf, as Matt was saying earlier on, and that display part, and changing too much sometimes. I know you have to do, but it also has a bit of an impact on the kind of ethos of how it looks. So that was it. Really not a question, just an observation.
Yeah, no, it's
cool, thanks.
It's important to hear. Yeah, it's important to hear, and we'll definitely keep that in mind. Obviously, collection-based collecting is super important for all of us. And taking a step back, it's just always good to hear feedback.
Yeah, and we say on these interviews, we say, like, it's good to hear, and I know sometimes that comes off as Jing and I are hearing it, but it's not just Jing and I. Like, we're passing all this on to the full team. So yeah, I mean, thank you guys from everybody for all the feedback.
Yeah. All right, take us home, Black Series Instagram.
Oh, the pressure. At one of the recent cons, at one of the recent cons, I'm not sure if it was San Diego or PulseCon, but the G.I. Joe team announced that the COVID factory delays are a thing of the past, and that with G.I. Joe we'll start seeing more figures revealed and released with a shorter time frame in between, and the kind of long delays are gone. Is that the same for Black Series in 2024? Are we looking at reveals and shorter windows to release than what we have been for the last 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, from a shipping level on a macro scale, things are getting more back to normal than like peak COVID times, for sure. There are many factors that go into like releasing a product, for example, from like development, references, things along those lines. And we definitely strive to make sure things show up soon and quick from you guys. I do hope that things are getting a little bit better, but there are definitely many factors to it. But I think the Ahsoka wave, or the Ahsoka items recently, was a great example. I think we've heard some feedback of, fans saying that that's been much closer to when entertainment was live, and getting those figures like pretty soon afterwards, and being able to like connect to the entertainment in that way. So it's definitely something we'll always keep in mind and strive for, just getting more of those items out in time with entertainment, and quicker as much as we can.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about this in a different interview earlier, where I think part of it is too, like, we're still recovering in a way, and like if you think about being in a traffic jam, like somebody might have an accident on the roadway up ahead of you, and then it gets cleared out and is gone, but that traffic jam exists for a while, and you see surges and stuff in traffic as it recovers. I think we're seeing some of that now, but trending in a much more positive direction, and I think that positiveness will continue.
Good.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're at time. It is a pleasure to chat with you always. And thank you for being so nice to Chris and I, bringing us home. But appreciate the time. It's always good to talk Star Wars. We hope we get to do more of this, especially in the new year. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you all soon. But until then, wishing you all a happy, healthy, wonderful holiday and a new year. And yeah, we hope to chat with everyone shortly.
Thanks
Cool.
for your time.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you so
everybody.
much.
We'll see you guys.
Happy holidays.
Thanks.
Bye.